Besides sending the police, you might want to send an ambulance or a hearse.
Hello, Billy Ho here, coming at you, round one of the playoffs. And it's kind of funny. I do the Jim Moore joke every year at this time, and I'm wondering. I'm going to pose the question on Twitter: Are we getting too old? The people coming up behind us don't remember that. You know, when the press conference, when they ask him about making the playoffs, and he goes on that tirade. And of course, it's all over the place. It's in my article. I'll show it to you. But anyway, we're going to talk this full 6-game slate. I wanted to do that. I did my Billy Ho contest. Don't forget to join up in there. Link is in the description. Article link is in the description. Discord link in the description. Check the description. There's all kinds of stuff in there to check out. Timestamps, whatnot. We got 6 games to cover. So let's get to cracking. Okay, we are going to start with the Seattle-San Francisco game, and we'll go through injury news. We got Mike Williams coming up in the next game. We'll talk about that and what to do there. But Seattle-San Francisco, be mindful. People may fade this game because it's going to rain, and it does look like some fairly heavy rain, and it's not just like Saturday. It's all week long. Like they've had like rain yesterday, today, tomorrow. So, but it's not going to be windy or anything, and the temperature is about 55 degrees. So for San Francisco, and I have visited that place before, it can be damn chilly with that kind of rain and temperature. But I don't think it's going to be any problem. Okay, we got Seattle, the road team, huge underdog. They limped to a 19-16 win over the Rams last week in overtime. They've really, the shine has kind of come off of Geno. They've had some injuries, rotating quarterbacks. The defense has been a sieve. So Geno still, we'll take a look at him, 5,600. He normally has to be efficient because they don't throw a ton. Even when they get their ass kicked, he should have thrown 60 times in that game against Kansas City. They had no chance. But he did end up throwing 40. But he can't, he's not getting there in his last month of games. He did in the kind of a mini shootout against Carolina, but this is a whole different animal. And I know San Francisco has given it up to the Raiders and had a little bit of a lackadaisical performance the last couple of weeks and whatnot. But I think they gear down and they're at home. Geno probably running for his life. He threw 2 interceptions against the Rams. He's not really prone. He's been pretty decent. If you go way back, he'll go like 3 games in a row without an interception. Very very rarely fumbles. You can see that he's lost. Although he did go on a fumble. As soon as I say that, 10 weeks 10 through 13, he lost a fumble every week. So he can turn the ball over. And if you want to try the 49ers defense, but they're kind of expensive, 3,600. So that's, a little bit out there. But Geno Smith, 5,600, fair price. And he does have 2 of the probably higher quality receivers in Metcalf and Lockett that are on the slate. They're not the $8,500 Justin Jeffersons of the world, but I mean, Metcalf, if they targeted, he gets a lot of targets, but it's just, he's had some really bad luck with the touchdowns this year. He's just, tipped off his hands and dropped and over his head when he's wide open. And he really, I feel like he could have a good game this week in a losing effort. Like he got 8 targets last week and he only connected on 3 of them for 40 yards. So it's Geno. A lot of it's on Geno. These quarterbacks, career backups come in and start, and they usually go on a good run for about 10 or 12 games, a la, Fitzmagic a few years ago and a few other guys that come in and hooray for Geno. I think he might even made the Pro Bowl this year. So congratulations on that. But he's not the answer for this team. They have to know that. So they're going to have to come back next year with something else. Better defense, maybe. I don't know. Better offensive line. But going to so it's basically if you go Geno, it's Metcalf and Lockett, and then it's one of these tight ends. You could go down and grab Parkinson for 2,500 because it always seems to be the other tight end. It might even be friggin' Mayberry, Andy Griffith time over here. Even though the dude didn't do nothing last week, he got the touchdown the week before. So you never know with Geno. He's just going to throw to whoever. He doesn't have favorite people. This game seems like Tyler Lockett could come through. He's actually shed any kind of injury designation after breaking his finger or something a couple weeks ago, which is weird. But on the flip side, I'm not feeling Ken Walker at 6,100. They call him K9. He's a hard running back, but he's not getting anywhere on this 49ers defense, in my opinion. And there's way better options for a lot cheaper, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I don't believe Brock Purdy would be the answer. That dude throws touchdowns all day for some reason, but 178 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he doesn't run. He might sneak one in, but his ceiling is 20. That's his ceiling right there. And you might tack on about another 40 yards to that passing. But I guarantee you in this, with the rain and whatnot, they are going to protect him and they are going to run the ball. I expect them to get out early with the defense, maybe cause a turnover, get a short field. But Christian McCaffrey looks to smash in this spot. My guess, 8,900 he's going to be very popular. And, he got 17 DraftKings points last week and really didn't play that much because of the blowout. He only had 10 rushing attempts and 3 for 34 and a touchdown. I don't see how he doesn't score in this game. So I think at least one touchdown is on the table. I think he's going to be more of the 6 for 72 variety in the receiving category. And he's probably going to push. I don't think he cracks 100 because the next guy I'm going to talk about, Eli Mitchell, is back. And he came through for me last week, won me a little bit of money and got me back to even after a bad Sunday. It was actually, I think the games were Saturday. Anyway, 5 for 55 and 2 touchdowns. Those 2 touchdowns were goal line carries. So he got 55 yards on basically like 3 carries. So averaged 11 yards a carry. So even more than that, honestly. So he could run roughshod at 4,700. He's got to be highly owned. He might be one of the highest owned plays on the whole slate. But it is a 6-game slate, mind you. So he might get lost in the shuffle a little bit. I bet he's really highly owned in the 2-game slate Saturday because he's going to allow you to do all kinds of stuff at 4,700. And he's going to get 10 to 15 carries in this game. He could push 100 yards. He is a threat to score a touchdown. So at 4,700 price per dollar, he's probably a better play than Christian McCaffrey. Unless Christian McCaffrey breaks the slate with 40. This dude's gonna score 15 or 20 DraftKings points at 4,700. So we'll see. But that's my bet there. And if you wanted to play receiving game, I don't mind Ayuk because Purdy throws to him a lot. 12 targets for previous weeks, 781. He's pretty efficient. He likes to hit him over the middle. 9 or 10. He's 5,800. He's probably going to need to score, and he could get a touchdown. He could do this 4 for 59 and a touchdown, and then you're talking 15 DraftKings points, and that's almost 3x, so that's not bad. But, you can avoid that. There's 6 games. There's plenty of value, as you'll see in the wide receiver category coming up next. But I really like the running game for San Francisco and the defense. The next game up is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Congrats to Jacksonville for really getting it going late season and pushing forward. And they did kind of luck box their way into beating Tennessee, which I thought they should have kicked their ass. But, it is what it is. They got the defensive touchdown, scoop and score to win the game, which is kind of wild. But this game is going to be interesting, I guess. Mike Williams is out. That's the first thing we'll talk about. I keep my eye on this game too, as in the weather. It's kind of unseasonably cold. and the wind could get up to that 15 to 20 mile per hour mark. It's going to be about 45 degrees at game time. It's a night game, and the normal temperatures around that time of the year is probably in the 60s and 70s at night in Jacksonville, Florida. So I've been to Jacksonville during this time of year for the Louisville Bowl game several years ago, and it's not. I want to say it was a little bit on the cool side then, but it was the temperatures during the day were in the 60s and 70s, and at night it did dip down, but it was nothing more than long sleeves and jeans at worst. But if it's 45 degrees, that's going to be pretty damn chilly with the wind. So keep an eye on that. Now, the game I think still can crack this 48 total because these are two of the best well, I don't want to say best quarterbacks, but they have some offensive firepower. Both teams, obviously, the Chargers do with Eckler and Herbert and chucking it. But Mike Williams is out. So the first thing we'll talk about is Los Angeles, the road team. So Herbert is 6,600, which is a lot cheaper. Of course, soft pricing, but he's a couple hundred cheaper than he was last week. He typically throws it 35 to 40 times, and I don't see anything different in this game. So he's going to be good for 270 and 2 most likely. So I think this is his floor is about 18, and his ceiling is obviously probably 30s. So he's not a bad play at 6,600. And now that Mike Williams is out, you can go over here and lock button Keenan Allen, and then you can go down here. And I can't get to Palmer at 5,300, but DeAndre Carter is 3,600. And then the games, even in the games that, like Mike Williams went out of this game, he got 3 for 43. So there you go. I'd say 6 to 10 points is his floor in this game. He's going to catch a lot more passes being out there, more snaps. So I like him. And he's a good touchdown scorer. And he has not scored since Mike Williams came back, basically. But when Mike Williams was out those games here in the middling thing, he was getting touchdowns, here and there, 20 points, 16. So if you're getting 16 or 20 points out of him, you're dancing 3,600. So keep that in mind. Now, let's see. Tight end, I mean, everybody's going to probably pay up for Ingram in this game, which I don't mind. Everett's down to 3,900 and Parham is 2,700. I'll probably look into that a little bit, maybe, but we'll have to see. But basically, if you want to stack Lawrence, and that Q tag is this toe injury, I will warn you one thing about Lawrence. Since he popped up on this with this toe injury back, I guess week 14 or somewhere around there, he's only had one game of 50 yards rushing. He usually has a little bit of 32. 26, 53. He'll usually take off and get you a few points. But with that toe, maybe he's still favoring it. I guess it's like a turf toe or whatnot. But he's been, listed as questionable for several weeks now, and he's played pretty good. He should have been a lot better against Tennessee last week, like I mentioned. But he has been dipped. He has dipped the last 3 weeks, obviously. Against the Jets is a tough defense on the road. They still won that game 19-3. It was a 31-3 blowout, so I'm okay with that. And then the Tennessee game was the disappointment. But he did have those back-to-back 30-point games. I think this game can shoot out if the Chargers come out firing just offensively, and their defense is getting healthier, so you got to be mindful of that. But the wide receivers are obviously Kirk and Zay Jones. I mean, 4,300 for Zay Jones. Like, why would you go pay 5,300 for Palmer, being wide receiver 2.5? Him and DeAndre Carter are almost the same, wide receiver rank, in my opinion, when Mike Williams is out. Palmer does step up, and he can, 33 in that game against Kansas City and 21. He does have probably a little better ceiling, but that's why he's almost 2,000 more than Carter. Zay Jones, he gets all the targets, 4,300. Kirk, 5,900, too cheap. Those two and Ingram are your 3 targets for pass catchers on a stack. rotate them in and out, however you want to do it. If you don't, if you see, that's the good part is you got the two running backs, Eckler and Etienne. And if you stack one way, you can play the other running back, or you can play Eckler with Herbert. Since you got Carter, you could play like Herbert, Eckler, and Carter. That's a perfectly reasonable game stack. And then you can run it back with Etienne if you wanted to, because Jacksonville's at home. I think they're a slight favorite. It's pretty close. I got the dashboard right here. We'll take a quick look. Actually, they're a slight dog. Okay, so but it's pretty close. But they do feel like I guess the Chargers are probably 5 points better. So maybe not Etienne. I don't know. He's 6,300. He is kind of expensive. But if you really like Jacksonville, Etienne would be the play. He'd be a great pivot. But that's all that game. I talked a lot about that one. This one I'm going to probably not go over that much because it's just so disappointing with the Tua concussion and the problems he had. So he's out. And Teddy Bridgewater is paper mache. Skylar Thompson is going to get the start. And that just makes me not want to play any Dolphins receivers, even Tyreek. I mean, Tyreek is a slate breaker. 7,900 is a discount. But, you know, that's just with Skylar Thompson, his ceiling. I mean, you can't pay 7,900 and get 15, 17 points. 21. I mean, he's not doing the 32s and the 34s like he did with Tua. So I'll let him beat me. He's probably, if not the favorite receiver in the league for me. I love him. But I would play Diggs more than him because he's got Josh Allen throwing to him, Josh Allen at home. And let's see, the weather's not going to be bad either. Clear and 31, no wind. So I like that. Josh Allen 7,900 is a discount, in my opinion. He should be 8,500. So you can stack Allen Diggs single. And I will, since Josh Allen is a running quarterback, you only need one guy to stack with it. So you can go Allen Diggs, and then you can play DeAndre Carter and Zay Jones in your lineup, and you're fine. And you're right back to where you need to be. You're not overstacking things. If you wanted to run it back, I would say Jeff Wilson because Mostert broke his thumb last week. So I don't know how limited he'll be. But definitely if he's ruled out, you could play Jeff Wilson. I know it's kind of the wrong minus EV kind of move. But at 5,400, Jeff Wilson, Miami's going to run as much as they possibly can to try to keep Buffalo off the field. So that's just my opinion. And if you wanted to go the other route, Singletary or Cook, both are touchdown dependent. I'd play, like I said, Eli Mitchell, 4,700. I'd play him before any of these guys. So, you know, you can what I'm going to do is play Eli Mitchell and then probably a Barkley or a upper tier running back. So I don't need any of these guys. Tight end wise, Dawson Knox at 4K, I'll take. Miami just sheds. He'd be the second guy. If you wanted to run a double stack, you're paying 4K for a tight end. And you are betting that he gets his fifth week in a row with a touchdown. So maybe I'll back off of that a little bit, but he could run wild on this Miami team. Miami, I think, is going to be waving the white flag. Don't beat up on us too bad. We don't have our quarterback. We're happy to make the playoffs. We made our first year coach look good. So everything's hunky dory there. But like I said, that's about all I got on that game. This is a much more impactful game, the Dome game, Teapot Dome. Now, I believe it is the only Dome game on the 6-game slate, if I'm looking at this right. So people are going to flock to it. People love Dome games in January. And Kirk Cousins, 5,900, you can run him. Obviously, the first guy you're plugging in is Jefferson. So if you go Cousins, Jefferson, and then Hawkinson, then you're hamstringing yourself a hair bit on the salary tip. Although Hawkinson at 5,100 is cool. I don't mind that. All right, I had to take just a little break to get a drink, so we're going to pick up where I left off with Hawkinson and Jefferson. So, you know, you can use some cheaper receivers. KJ Osborne, I think, has come into his own. Obviously, he's moved up past Thielen in the pricing. So that just shows you what he's been doing here lately. The guy, he had a he didn't really have a great game against the Giants. So what I'll do is I'll go look at matchups and see who's injured and who's not as far as the secondaries go. And I'll be looking to target the weakest part of the secondary. Jefferson is the biggest. If you wanted any kind of guarantees, but he's got the best shot at just tripping and stumbling his way to 30. I could see 150 and 2 touchdowns in this game, no problem. So he's had 2 back-to-back week games, so he's ready to pop one of these loose. So anyway, Danny Dimes, I used him in a stack a couple weeks ago in this game, and then I ran it back again actually in the Indy game, and that's when he really paid off for me, was 36-18. But he still got 25 in this game. He can run. He just didn't get the rushing upside like he did in the following games. But dude will take off on you, and they're designed, I think, honestly. I know they look like scrambles, but I think they designed to run guys down the field and then have him drop back and look around and then wait for the opening and take off running, because he can get 30, 40 yards down the field before people realize what's going on. So I like Danny Dimes at 5,600, fair price. I don't know where he ranks in the order of popularity as far as quarterbacks go, but he's a good play in my opinion. You don't necessarily have to stock him with Barkley, because both Hodgins, Slayton, and James, all three are quality pass catchers, and they seem to have gotten on the same page over the last several weeks as far as how they do against, and of course, Minnesota, one of the worst defenses in the league. The Giants can win this game, definitely. So if you think the Giants get out and Minnesota's a disaster, and the Giants get out front, it's okay to play any. I mean, look how cheap these guys are. You can play any 2 guys here, or you can run Barkley. I love Barkley. He can break the slate this week. He's 1,000 cheaper than CMC with the same upside, same pass catching ability. He had a good game against him a few weeks ago, and I don't think they're going to do anything to curtail him from another 8 catch game. So I see 25 to 30 for Saquon in this. This is obviously a good game to stack. So I don't have anybody that's sneaky. I wouldn't take Dalvin Cook in this game. The Giants defense is sneaky good too. They might give up some points, but they get after the quarterback, so they can definitely do some damage if you wanted to go defense. And they're 3K, which is not terrible. So that game is I think everybody cut and dry knows what to play in that game. This next game I'm going to kind of skim a little bit too. Maybe the Bengals defense, 3,500. That's a little bit pricey, but obviously Lamar Jackson's out. Huntley is questionable, but I don't like anybody there. So let's see. Running backs, I think Joe Mixon would be a good play, 6,800. Like I would take Eli Mitchell and Joe Mixon and call it a day, and then play Mixon as a one-off. You can go Burrow and then Chase, because I think they will still do like they did last week. And Chase really hurt me with the drop touchdown pass, because he would have cracked. It was a 14-yard touchdown pass, which would have given him the bonus and the touchdown, and would have won me a GPP. Instead, I finished like 7th, but that's okay. Neither here nor there. T. Higgins I'm less likely to play than him. Tyler Boyd is a no-go for me, even though it's going to be these 3 guys. I don't think Irwin gets as many snaps in the playoffs. Now, if they do get a big lead, Irwin will probably come in and maybe get a few touches, but I don't know. 3,200. DeAndre Carter's just 400 more, and he's getting a lot more targets. So I prefer that route. I don't, like I said, no Dobbins is way too expensive at 5,700. Edwards is dinged up. P. Ryan, 4,900. Like I said, Eli Mitchell's 200 cheaper, and he's going to be in a better situation. P. Ryan's more of the third down pass catching type back, so I think I'm going to largely avoid this game because you got to pick your spots in a 6-game slate, and then you got Monday night, Big D traveling to Tampa Bay. You can obviously play Tom Brady, Tom Terrific, 5,800, and then obviously you've got. Let's see here. Sorry, bear with me a second. Mike Evans and Godwin. I always like God. If you're going to do one-offs, I always take the cheaper of these two guys. And then Mike Evans is the guy everybody's been is going to be chasing that big 200-yard game. You watch Godwin will come out of the slot in this game and catch 12 for 120 and a touchdown, and he's going to pay off. Russell Gage is pretty good for 3,800. Gallup and T.Y. Hilton, I don't trust as much. On the other side, Noah Brown, not bad at 3,100. He still gets double the snaps T.Y. Hilton does. But if you're looking for that one long touchdown pass, T.Y. Hilton can't. They've been targeting him a couple of times down the field. He could get loose on somebody. So keep that in mind. CD Lamb, this is a game where CD Lamb needs to plant his foot in the ground and say, I'm the baddest dude in this league. Y'all need to recognize because this is the game he needs. These last 2 weeks against Philly and Tennessee, those are what you need out of him. He needs double-digit targets. He needs 100-plus yards and at least a touchdown. He needs to lead this offensive passing game. But what they'll probably do is try to dial it back and run the ball. They might cut Pollard loose in this game, maybe. I don't like Zeke at all in this game unless you think he's going to get a couple of touchdown plunges from the goal line because that's his best bet. He is majorly touchdown dependent in this game, in my opinion. I don't think he gets 50 total yards otherwise. Playoff Lenny, that's another dude that he's always priced too cheap. They are going to lean on him. I don't want anything to do with White. He'll probably get a little bit of work, but Tom Brady trusts playoff Lenny. Lenny's going to come in, and Lenny's, they gave him quite a bit of rest in the last game against Atlanta. So he's going to come in. He could catch 6 to 10 passes. I look for him at 15 points. Like I said, I can go cheap too with Lenny. And obviously you could play him in the flex spot. It'd be in the late game Monday night. And you can do that. A lot of people are going to gravitate, and I don't blame you. The Bucks D 2,600 at home with Mr. Pick Six himself, Dak Prescott, who's looked awful. He can fumble. He gets blindsided. They get sacked. He throws interceptions. They muff punts. I don't mind that defense at all. I think that was my first click on defenses. But, I wouldn't do it. 6K is too expensive. There's way too many other quarterbacks. I could go right now and tell you, and you watch Dak will go out and have a career game. But anyway, you got Cousins, Brady, Lawrence, Geno, Danny Jones, all those guys underneath Dak that have more upside than him, better receivers. So, they don't run the ball as much, all that good stuff. But I have been talking a lot. So I'm going to leave it off there. I appreciate you all watching. Join the contest. That's in the description. Check out the article. It's really, I put a lot of work into it. It's completely free. Give me some comments. Let me know what's going on. Who do you like? Maybe who the chalk is. And thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Shout out to my man, Squirrel Man Jose. Hope you're doing okay, brother. And next video coming will probably be golf. Amex. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.